Hey everybody, cattail, right Zelda? Yeah, you have to stand. Oh, if you're gonna stick your tail in the camera, come say hi. There's Zelda. Yes, be nice, Zelda. It's the theme of this video, right? They can't see your face. All you look like is blackness. There's the Zelda. Yeah, good girl. Okay, thank you, Zelda. That was very nice. And that's the topic for today. I don't know how much my mic bumped doing that. So typical, I just hit the button cat. That's life with cats. It keeps you humble. Hello, everybody. It is Tuesday. I'm going to do another check-in based on like cultural stuff today. Still trying to figure out what to call this video, but I'm going to jump in. If you like videos like this that deal with this sort of stuff, sometimes they do get demonetized, I think, for just unpopular thoughts. So you know it's coming. Patreon. You should become a member. Patreon.com/Leanna K. And some people, one guy in the comments yesterday said he wanted to unsubscribe every time I did that. Unsubscribe for like 7 seconds of doing a jingle. The thing is, it's actually increased the number of people signing up on Patreon because it's memorable. So, buddy, if you really want to unsubscribe because you can't handle 7 seconds of business on a 30-minute video, you go right ahead. Because you know what? I'm sick of people, one, not being kind, not being considerate. Considerate's a better word. And secondly, not appreciating when someone is kind and considerate. So, you know me, don't get mad, get researched, right? I'm a nerd. I went and I started reading. And I found this article in The Atlantic that just caught me. And it's very, very, very interesting because it explains a lot of what's going on in a way that maybe isn't immediately intuitive. And I just realized I gotta set up my screen differently. I'll go over here because it looked weird before. So let's recenter. Let's make it a little bigger. There we go. I tried to do this beforehand, but cat. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so here we go. Here's the article from The Atlantic. It's called "Stop Trying to Raise Successful Kids." What? Next to an SUV ad. Maybe not the best ad placement there, but the article itself is very interesting. What it basically says is that the emphasis on achievement being parents, 81% of parents say, 90% of parents of children say their top priority is that their kids be caring. Makes sense, as this article says. Kindness and concern for others is held as moral virtues in nearly every society and every major religion. But when you ask children what their parents want for them, 81% say their parents value achievement and happiness over caring. And so what this article says is that's because kids pick up more on what their parents notice and remark on and reward as opposed to what they say they want. Funny that's the way things tend to work. But what it is led to, apparently, or what it correlates with more accurately, is a decline in kindness with an investments out underneath it. Analysis, annual surveys of American college students, substantial drop in imagining the perspective of others, in other words, empathy, from 1979 to 2009. So this is over this period, students grew less likely to feel concern for people less fortunate than themselves and less bothered by seeing others treated unfairly. Yikes. This should probably surprise no one. But then it says that people are less thoughtful. This cracked me up. In one experiment, a sociologist scattered thousands of what appeared to be lost letters in dozens of American cities in 2001 and again in 2011. From the first round to the second one, the proportion of letters that was picked up by helpful passerby and put in a mailbox declined by 10%. When the same experiment was conducted in Canada, helpfulness didn't diminish. Now, this isn't the best experiment in terms of scientific rigor because you only did it twice and there's only a 10% change. Like, geez, that could have been a fluke, But more broadly, psychologists find that kids born after 1995 are just as likely as their predecessors to believe that people experiencing difficulty should be helped, but they feel less personal responsibility to take action themselves. For example, they are less likely to donate to charity or even express an interest in doing so. Which that really surprised me because gamers are extremely charitable. Gamers are great that way. It's one of the reasons I'm so proud of this community. And you can read the article about why one of the interesting things they've said is it is actually I'm trying to find it. Here we are. It's an unintended consequence of a desire to treat boys and girls more equally. What? No, here it is. Parents' emphasis on toughness is partly an unintended consequence of the admirable desire to treat boys and girls more equally. Historically, families and schools to encourage girls, getting Momo, girls to be kind and caring and boys to be strong and ambitious. Today, parents and teachers are rightly investing more time and energy in nurturing confidence and leadership in girls. Unfortunately, there isn't the same momentum around developing generosity and helpfulness in boys. The result is less attention to caring across the board. So what they basically did was they tried to do equality in a sexist way, emphasizing boy socialization to the detriment of, traditional female socialization. And this is ridiculous, eh, Momo? You're a boy, but you're the most loving boy I've ever met. Yes, you're a good boy. And so they talk about a bunch. You can read this. There's some interesting stuff. But what they've actually found is that kids who are more helpful end up achieving more than those who don't. Boys who are rated as helpful by their kindergarten teacher earn more money 30 years later. Middle school students who help cooperate and share with their peers also excel. Compared with unhelpful classmates, they get better grades and standardized test scores. The 8th graders with the greatest academic achievement, moreover, are not the ones who got the best marks 5 years earlier. They're the ones who are rated most helpful by their 3rd grade classmates and teachers. And middle schoolers who believe their parents value being helpful, respectful, and kind over excelling academically, attending a good college, and having a successful career perform better in school and are less likely to break rules. Now, I don't know where the break rules thing came from, but it's interesting that they say they're more successful because it goes on. In part, that's because concern for other people promotes supportive relationships and help prevents depression. Students who care about others also tend to see their education as preparation for contributing to society, an outlook that inspires them to persist even when studying is dull. Boy, I can speak for that. In adulthood, generous people earn higher incomes, better performance reviews, and more promotions than their less generous peers. This may be because the meaning they find in helping others leads to broader learning and deeper relationships, and ultimately to greater creativity and productivity. Go on and on and on. You can read it. But a lot of people who work in game dev right now are going like, excuse me? No, that is not my experience. Why is this so dark? Oh, because my light's out of place. Gee, Momo, let's fix the light. Let's be helpful, okay, Momo? No. Okay, we'll just leave the light. He's comfy. See, I'm being considerate, Momo. This is a very heavy cat video. I didn't expect it to be this way. But a lot of people who work in game dev right now are going, what? No, the person who's the most helpful just gets screwed and gets blamed for everything and gets no credit. You get paid or, you're just going to be a chump. And that's part of what's wrong with the indie side of this industry. Like, obviously in AAA, there's crunch and all that stuff, but you do draw a decent salary. It's the indie side where everybody's on basically freelance contracts and stuff like that a lot of the exploitation goes on. And I think, blowing the cat hair off my keyboard, that's where a lot of the cultural issues in gaming come from. These are... Tech people, nerds, tend to be high achievers. The sort of slot we get sorted into in society is not based on social skills. Too many people who go into the hard sciences or computer programming get passes on a lack of what used to be called soft skills. But those skills that businesses are starting to recognize now actually amplify the performance of the people around them. It makes absolute sense that people who were kinder, were more considerate. I won't call it altruism because there's a payoff, right? But people who were more considerate for the greater good do better in their careers, because if you're well liked, people will cover for you. People won't, you won't be the person voted off the island. They won't be like shanking you the first chance they get. If people don't like you, you're going to be out in the cold. Now, this is going to make a lot of gamers very, very nervous, because we all have, most of us anyway, have experiences of being social outcasts, or at least feeling like social outcasts. And that's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about popularity based on status. We're not. That's in the article. We're talking about a different kind of thing. We're talking about supporting each other. And what they actually found is that groups of people who don't support each other become less supportive of each other over time, and vice versa. And this is something I had to learn the hard way in life, that if you're constantly around people who are selfish assholes, no one who is not a selfish asshole will come into that group, because they rightly recognize it's a bunch of selfish assholes. I had to remove myself from the group of selfish assholes multiple times, because a lot of selfish assholes out there. Based on this, now I see why. But to find a group of people who are actually willing to support each other and get things done. And every time I feel like somebody's being not appreciative or unkind, and I wonder what I should do, a lot of the time it comes into my mind that, well, if I let this person get away with being an asshole, if I take it, what signal is that sending to other people? One, that it's behavior that I will accept, and so I can blame no one but myself if they continue to treat me that way. But also that if there's no downside to acting like a jerk, then there's less of an upside to being kind. You actually have to walk away from people who are unappreciative or rude or, inconsiderate, in order to make it matter that someone is being considerate. And, I've met a lot of incredibly considerate people through gaming who get treated like dirt by life. And I think that they're just stuck in those, small ponds with a lot of really mean fish. And so I started thinking about what that means for the gaming discourse. And I realized, holy crap, this is gaming op-ed, right? Like, this is the games press in a nutshell. You be nice, you bad people. Like, they're demanding kindness and tolerance and respect and togetherness and inclusion without displaying it. 'Cause they're engaging in like competitive niceness. Niceness is like a status. Consideration is status. You can't have it both ways. You can't. It cannot be a competition to be the nicest. It doesn't work that way. Not with the amount of aggression that's going on in these op-eds. And I know where that comes from too. It's from crappy writing teachers that when you've got like mediocre to not good, opinion, nonfiction writing teachers, they talk to you about active versus passive voice and making a strong statement, and it doesn't always work. Like there is a time and a place for it, yes, but it doesn't always work. You gotta meet people where they live. You gotta go to the people. And I remember when I was doing, I got rooked into doing the Twilight Saga at a Mormon history conference, and they didn't tell me that I was presenting to actual Mormons, but the other two got up there and did the typical academic, like, fist in the air and very strident and all that stuff. And Mormons are very polite people. Like, Mitt Romney's a snarky Mormon, okay? Like, Mormons are some of the most outwardly nice people I have ever met. I think it's all the decaf tea and, like, Jell-O salad. That's a joke. But, like, Mormons are super nice, at least outwardly. And so they sat there very politely, and I got up there and talked to them and made it more of a conversation. Of course, nobody had ever read the books. Most of them hadn't seen the movies at the time, but everybody had seen a poster or a billboard or something like that. They didn't even know in some cases it was written by a Mormon lady. But at the end, they asked me questions. They were actually engaged. Why? Because I didn't come in and try to tell them what their religion was. And, I didn't come in as a Gentile. I'm a Gentile in Mormonism. Awesome. But I didn't come in and tell them their business, right? I was nice. I was considerate. I was helpful. I come in and these learning experiences would inform this channel. I come in and just give you guys the information. I am not invested in you agreeing with me. I am invested in a not even civil, a fun conversation. The best part of my Twitch channel tonight, by the way, more Outer Worlds, and I'm going to ask an opinion on another game, so make sure you show up so you can vote on whether the next game happens. But it's the back and forth and the supportive environment and the conversations, and nothing's totally off limits. There are certain things I won't talk about, but we have the sort of environment where I'm like, guys, and we'll change the subject. We want to keep it cool, right? It's not a place to go and brawl. And on a platform like Twitch, that's pretty amazing, But that doesn't come from nowhere. And that's because I made a choice, I didn't go for that, like, achievement, success, all these clicks. I went for quality of follower, fan. I don't know what to call it. What do you guys want to be called? Like, follower sounds like a cult. Like, fan sounds like a K-pop act. Like, I don't know. But community, quality community. That sounds good to me, but let me know. But I had a very good business advisor, really smart guy. And it was like, do you want this Roman candle kind of success that you got to keep one-upping it and then you burn out? Or do you want to go slow and steady, slow growth, but focus on quality? And I'm like, I like that one. Because, I had just come out of the television industry. I don't want to go back. I want this to be something I can do for a while. I don't need a ton of money. I just need to get by, right? And that was how we built this channel, and it worked in terms of it's not constant drama. It picks up every so often, but that kind of stuff is exhausting. But I'm also not chasing, the hundreds of thousands of views that other people need to feel like they're successful. That's not my model. It's exactly what this article is saying. That people get so hung up in success, they forget about consideration and kindness. And so I think we're actually having a dialogue here. But getting back to the games press, it's almost comical when you apply this model to those ridiculous hot take op-eds that just seems so shouty on stuff that should be a conversation. And again, it's because they're attempting competitive consideration. This is racist and this is sexist and I'm outraged, and it doesn't work. Because why? The reader feels attacked, especially if it's a popular franchise. The reader feels like you are not being nice. And this is not the time to get into the whole thing about likability in women. Again, this is an offshoot of a sexist attempt to get more equality of gender that benefits nobody in the long term, because people are whole people, and this idea that you have to shut off like entire sections of feeling, like spectrum of emotions, is ridiculous. Like, women have to shut off anything aggressive and men have to shut off anything kind. That's ridiculous. Everybody has those feelings. They shouldn't be associated with one gender or another. Individuals are individuals, right? Some of my cats are assholes, some of my cats are Momo, right? Like, so if you want to persuade people, especially people who have been bullied the way that gamers have, I think that's one common thing of us that sort of identifies gamers. You can't go at them like that. You have to actually be kind and considerate and helpful, because gamers are, quite frankly, I think we get all our competitiveness out in game. And obviously there's some assholes in every group, but I think because we channel that competitiveness in game, we're more giving of spirit in other places. Like, we get that, okay, I know I'm good at this. My ranking shows that. I feel a level of achievement there. I can be giving because I know I'm good at something. These people in the games press are so insecure. And I gotta wonder about the management of these companies. But we gotta get and this is tough in business. But like the article said, in the long term, you're more successful if you do this. We have to get the unhealthy competition out of this industry. History has shown over and over again in gaming, when one company is doing extremely well, it brings more people in. It's good for everybody. And so instead of trying to take each other out, I like it when various companies applaud, their competitors' successes. I like to see that. I don't like, the bad old days when they were being real jerks to each other. I didn't think that was healthy for anybody. And the same with indie. Like, the desperation has to come out of the indie scene. Because a few games did really, really well and some people made all this money and got all this success, it's become so crazy cutthroat. When what it should be is, I want to make something that people will play and feel good playing. That's what the desire to make this content, that's what desire to make my very silly, crazy character content. That's what any creator really at their core really wants. Because if you're not doing that, if you're trying to make a point, you're not a creator, you're a propagandist, right? Art is art, and propaganda is propaganda, and propaganda can be very artful, but it's not the same impulse. I really don't care if people agree with me on any given point that I say. What I care about is that people express themselves in a way that is kind instead of that, unhealthy type of competitiveness. And it's not personal, I realized. It's that when someone lashes out at a stranger, when someone lashes out at me, I immediately think, wow, they don't know me well enough for this to be personal. How many other people's days does this person ruin? And the paladin in me kicks in, and I just want to either stomp them or hug them. I'm not sure. I just want that to stop because this is clearly a very unhappy person and I may not be able to do anything about their unhappiness, but I can sure as heck do something about them spreading that unhappiness around. Life's too short, right? Life is too short. If I was okay with that, I wouldn't be dressing up in ridiculous costumes and, oh man, you guys should see the boss fight stuff. It's the craziest yet. Like, it's going next level. I went out and raided, like, Halloween sales for costumes. It's some crazy stuff. And it wasn't all me. It was backers writing the backstories. And I'm like, I think I can do this. But, yeah, we all do better if we're all happier. And we can only be happier if it isn't constantly a war. And my question that I am going to read comments from for Feedback Friday. How do we create a sharing of opinion that can be sort of, influential in the industry without this hot take op-ed hate click dynamic? Because, engagement is enragement, right? I heard Kara Swisher say that. I thought it was pretty brilliant. It actually should be enragement is engagement. But how do we get past the rage? How do we go back to, like, creating communities about mutually likey stuff? Likey stuff. That was intellectual. Anyway, really interesting because this is something I think needs to be explored because games are supposed to be fun. Because fun is fun. Okay, I'm going to do that thing that guy hated now. Ready? And I almost get like more glee because I know this is something that drives somebody nuts and it's such a ridiculous thing to be driven nuts by that I'm just going to do it even more gleeful because like maybe my happy will make him happy. Here we are. Patreon. You should become a member. Patreon.com/Leanna K. Thanks for watching. Even that guy.